Are you ready for another amazing session? Today, our conversation is with Heidi Alldredge. She's a wife, a mom, and a grandmother, a friend, a motivational speaker. She is an adjunct instructor at the Utah Valley University, a TEDx speaker, and she is also on a TV station as a certified happiness expert and a former radio talk show host and podcaster, which is where I met her. She jokingly says she's still trying to figure out what she wants to be when she grows up, but she's having a ball doing it. For fun, she can be found playing with her grandkids, baking bread, traveling with her family, lunch dates with friends, serving and helping others, watching movie, writing, either in her journal or another motivational talk. She says she is a recovering why me, that Eeyore complex, but she is currently teaching the art of positive thinking. So let's dive in and hear what Heidi has to share about stopping stinking thinking.
Hello. Let me take you back a little bit. I'm going to take you back to when I was 16 years old. And this was at Thanksgiving time. It was actually 2 days after Thanksgiving. It was a Saturday. And I was home with my mom and my four little brothers. And then the police came to our door and they sat us down and they said that our dad had just taken his own life. My little brother was 7 at the time and he was like, "What does that even mean?" And I was just like, "Dad's dead. He's gone." And we all just held each other and cried. And we found out at the time that my dad took his own life because he had thoughts that everyone would be better off without him. And so I have labeled that as stinking thinking because it is not true. And I'm here to tell you that we all have stinking thinking that isn't true, and we need to question those thoughts. I, several times in my own life, contemplated suicide myself. I would have thoughts, I entertained thoughts that you're so ugly and no one should have to see your face and you're worthless and no one would even notice if you're gone. That was more stinking thinking and it needed to stop. And in addition to that stinking thinking, I also had thinking in my younger years, I will be happy when. I mastered that perfectly. I always thought, I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I have kids. I'll be happy when I have the dream house, lose the weight, get the perfect job. My happiness was always dependent on that next thing. And then I'd get it, and I still wasn't happy. I was always chasing happiness in accomplishments and things, and I could never catch it. And I found out now that's because happiness is there all along. I just couldn't find it. I was miserable, and I made everyone around me miserable. And that was a lot of stinking thinking. So there's a lot of circumstances in our lives that are unhappy. We have things that aren't great, but a big part of our unhappiness comes from our thinking, the way we think about it. Studies show that we have thousands of thoughts a day, and not all of them are positive. We feel depressed when we are ruminating about the past, and we feel anxious when we are worrying about the future. And so we can control our thinking. We really can. We can control our happiness when we learn to savor the moments we are in right now. Our brain is always trying to just keep us alive. That's its big accomplishment is to keep us alive. It wants to avoid pain, it seeks pleasure, and it saves energy. That's the purpose of our brain. And so it's always looking out for danger. And so things can easily become negative and make us worried. But we need to tell ourselves we're actually safe, we are loved, things are fine, and things are actually going to work out okay. We can decide how to direct our brain because what we focus on grows. And as we focus on those negative things, we're going to find more negative. And if we focus on good things, we will see more good. So when you find yourself focusing on the negative, you need to stop and ask, is this a useful thing to be upset about? Just the very first, when the thought first comes in, is this useful to be upset about? Does it really matter? Is it really that big of a problem? Is there another way I could think about this? Is there something else I could focus on that would be better? Oh. So, when we ask ourselves those questions, if we're really honest with ourselves, we can find a little bit more of a change in positivity. And so, when we take time to be, is this really a useful thought that I'm upset about? Sometimes we'll be like, yeah, it is, I want to be upset. But that emotion lasts for 90 seconds inside us. When something happens and we're upset about something or hurt, it lasts for 90 seconds. But we keep replaying it when we remember it because the emotion's gone. But we keep thinking about it. And that's what makes it feel like we're having that problem still over and over and over. So by changing our thoughts, we can actually change our experiences. We can decide in advance the kind of day we want to have. We can decide in advance the quality of the experiences we want to have. And we can also decide in advance what we're going to think. So we feel worried and frustrated because of what we're thinking about. So take this example of snow. I will show a picture of snow to people and I say, how does this make you feel? What does it make you think? And a lot of the audience members will be like, oh, I think it's peaceful. It's beautiful. It's calming. I want to go out and play in it. It's exciting. It's adventurous, and they have all these positive things to think about it. When I think about snow, I freak out. I hate it. It gives me the biggest anxiety. It's slippery. I hate driving in it. I hate shoveling it. I don't like to play in it. It's cold. And I see the snow and I just want to curl up in a ball and wait it out for 6 months till the snow goes away. And I'll even call my friends and family and be like, don't come over. We can't get together. There's snow or it might snow. That's how paranoid I get with it. But if it was really snow that was creating those feelings, then we would all feel the same way. But it's our thoughts about it that are creating those feelings. That's the meaning we give it. So my thoughts are how I feel about it, but they don't have to be the only focus in my mind, right? Because I can get myself all freaked out and worried about the snow, but meanwhile, I'm home and safe and everything's fine. So my brain thinks it's being helpful to worry me. So I can take precautions, but I don't have to be worried and afraid. Because the fearful thought about snow can be true. Like you can slide off the road, you can have accidents, there can be problems. That's true. But so is the opposite, right? You can't. You could have a great time in the snow and be safe and fine. And if I really think about it, my worst car accident was on a beautiful, good weather day, sunshiny day. And I'm not afraid to go driving on beautiful days, but yet I'm afraid to drive in the snow because my little brain is trying to be useful and make me aware, and it wants to protect me, but it's really my thinking that is being overactive and really not helpful. So you feel worried when you think too much about what you're thinking about because you're the creator of your feelings and your thoughts. Because your brain is this most efficient tool and it wants to keep doing what it's really good at. So your brain believes that the things that are unknown are really dangerous. And so it wants you to avoid them and keep you alive. But we're not really in danger. So what I love to do, I've named my brain something else because I know it's not me and my thinking. It's this weird, random, negative thinking. And so I've named my brain and I say, thank you. I appreciate that reminder. I'm okay. You can stop now. And I will literally just be like, thank you, stop. And I can see this action I'm doing. Thank you and stop, like throwing it away, throwing it over my shoulder. I don't want to think that thought anymore. It's not serving me. So thank you, brain. You can stop now. And that's just a quick trick I use to be able to get myself back focused on something I might be spiraling in. So also our brain, when we have something new or we eat something sweet or experience something exciting, then we have that chemical release of that dopamine that tells our brain, this is good stuff. This is fun. I want more, 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 right? So we need to also decide ahead of time on what limits we need to tell our brain because our brain has a hard time with that. It just keeps wanting more. And what I've found is that first bite of that really yummy thing, you almost can't repeat that. You can eat it like 5 or 6 more bites and it's never as good as that first bite. but the brain's like, maybe, just do more, more, more. And so as we kind of ahead of time decide, you know what? I'm going to eat half of that cupcake, or I'm going to eat the whole cupcake, whatever it is that you want to tell yourself, and just have those limits, have that something that you won't let your brain go, oh, now you need another cupcake, right? Because we really don't. It just wants more. So you can decide in advance, maybe some limiting things that you can do when you know you're about to do something that you want more of, and have your brain be able to have a little rest. You can decide it ahead of time. So there's actually like this pathway in our brain. It's like this little pathway. It can be compared to like a pathway in the forest, right? That's worn down, where you know exactly where everybody's walked before you. And so the neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to like rewire itself. And that can be changed throughout our life as we're going to strengthen new neural pathways. And we can do that through elevated thinking, because what we focus on grows, and what we focus on determines our reality too. So it's like blazing a new path in the forest. And so we can obtain that by being aware of the old path, the old familiar negative ways of thinking. And then we're going to have courage to kind of take another path, start a new path that maybe isn't as well worn, but it will be eventually as we start this new way of thinking. And then that old way and that old path of thinking will just be overgrown and not even used anymore. And now we're going to have a new, well-worn path. So the next time you come to this point in your brain where you're, in your experiences where your brain's just ready to just go down that negative path, you can stop and you can change your thinking. It is possible, I promise. So here's a few tips. First, you can step back and see the situation from another point of view. It's kind of weird to think that, because we think our view and our idea is the only way, but there's so many other options. So simply recognizing that a problem exists is the good first step towards solving it, because what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. What's right is also always available. I was talking to my brother a couple of weeks ago because he was going to take his children and his girlfriend's children with her to Disneyland. And he was freaking out about it, totally stressed, all the things that could go wrong. The kids could fight, and we could be in long lines, and the kids could whine, and they're going to be tired. And he was just going through all these scenarios of things that could happen. And I said, okay, that's true. That could happen. But also other things could happen too, more positive things. So I said, think about it. Your kids could be making great memories. They could love going on these rides. They could love the treats and the experience and the music and the sights and the sounds. Like, they could relish it and love it and enjoy it. And you could have a great bonding moment too, right? Just as well as the other. I know a lot of us have been to Disneyland, and it can definitely weigh out the negative parts of it for sure. And so I actually challenged my brother to put a reminder on his phone. And every hour, as they're waiting in a line or something, let's talk about the highlights of the last hour. So this reminder will come up on his phone, and he'll be like, okay, what is our favorite thing we've done in the last hour? What is the best thing we've done? What's the coolest thing we've seen? What's the greatest thing we've eaten? What have we experienced in the last hour? And just keep redoing that pathway, right? Of focusing on the positive things. So if they're getting tired and hungry, well, how was the last hour? And it's a great way to distract them, first of all. And secondly, to keep that brain pathway open to finding the positive. So always take a minute, step back, see it from another point of view. And as much as something bad could happen, something good could happen. It's 50-50, really. So the next thing was to question if your thought is true. Is my thought even true? And how does thinking this thought affect me? Would I say this thought to my best friend? Like back in the day when I had all this negative thinking about how ugly I am and how worthless I am, would I tell my best friend that? I would never, ever think of saying that to her. So why am I letting it play in my brain? That should be your first clue. If it's not something you'd say to a friend, then don't think it any longer. And there's another trick with this, is maybe thinking a neutral thought, like something's interesting, instead of labeling it good and bad. Because we tend to be like, oh, I've got good news and bad news, or had this good thing happen today and this bad thing happened today. What if it was just interesting? I've got interesting news. How does it make you feel when you hear that? It kind of is like, I want to know more, right? But if I say I've got good news, oh yay. If I've got bad news, panic, stomach ache, right? Interesting news. Let's figure it out together. Let's see what it is. So we label things, but maybe we don't need to label things. We can just know things are what they are. They're neutral experiences. They're interesting things that are happening to us. And sometimes we'll label something as bad that we'll find out later was actually good for us and good. So here's another example. I was with a friend at a restaurant and we were eating, and she left about half her food there, right? So if the chef came out during, while we were eating and saw that she left all this food, what could be his first thought? I know if it was me, I do this all the time. If I have people over, company over and they're not eating the food, oh, I'm the worst. I'm a terrible chef. They don't like it. It's yucky. But really, my friend just was full and she wanted to take it home and eat it later. And so all the negative thinking that the chef could have been thinking about himself wasn't even true anyway. And so that's why I say question your thoughts, because it's easy to kind of spiral into the negative when really that's not even true. So we really need to question them. And we also need to question, are we believing the thought because someone else said it? Like when I had bullies when I was younger telling me how ugly I was believing that because somebody else said it. That's what they thought. It must be true. Well, guess what? We can decide what is true. We can use our imagination to think differently, and we don't have to believe everything other people say. So we need to find new believable ways to think about our thoughts that create more peace and compassion, which will make us feel better. Because we can believe to choose what we focus on. So we can focus on the positive, even though our default brain wants to focus on what's wrong and scary and dangerous because it needs to keep us alive. We can say, okay, what if that is true? What if it's true? First of all, what is worrying going to do about it, right? Doesn't mean we have to worry and freak out about it. I was a realtor, and several years ago, I was working with this client and we were at the, closing and everything. And then they said the funds might not be available that day. It was a Friday, right? And so they actually couldn't move that day if the funds weren't available. The sale of their house didn't go through, which means the funds would have been Monday. So that left them the whole weekend of waiting around, right? If it didn't fund. My clients were freaking out because they had the moving van planned, and the movers coming and they were ready to take off. They need to get out of there, right? And the idea that it wasn't going to happen, maybe, possibly, it wasn't even sure. There was a chance it wasn't going to fund. And so it was my client spiraling and freaking out. And I said, what's the worst thing that's going to happen today? What's the worst thing if it doesn't fund? She said, we'll be homeless. I said, okay, really? Let's question that. Is that true? Really? Will you be homeless? And she's like, well, I'm like, okay, yeah, you haven't even sold your home. You could stay in your home. She's like, okay, but we're all packed up and everything's out of the house. And I said, well, you could go stay with your family. You could go stay in a hotel. Like you're not homeless. You're not going to be out on the street. So it was good to just really is that true? You're really going to be homeless, because that's what your brain is, panicked and wants to think that. And so it really calmed her down to be like, yeah, that's true. I really won't be homeless. Yeah, there's other things. Well, guess what? It funded. She was able to move on just like she wanted to, and everything was great and fine. It was all that panicking and spiraling out of control and negativity for nothing. How often do we do that? We do that all the time. So you have to ask yourself, who do I want to be now? Do I want to be the worrier, the complainer, the scared person that's afraid to do anything or live their life? Who do I want to be now? Do I want to be the person to be around? The person who's more positive, the person who sees things a little differently, the person who isn't believing all the negative thoughts. So the third thing is true that we sometimes can have limiting beliefs. We can think things about ourselves that aren't really true, but there's an opposite. There's an opposite. And so, like, even the example of me thinking that I'm ugly, right? So there's an opposite. If you look up opposite of ugly, it means beautiful, of course, but it also means peaceable and calm. So instead of saying I'm ugly, I'm not ready to go pure opposite of like, oh, I'm beautiful now, because I don't believe that and my brain won't accept that. But could I find something else, like maybe peaceable or calm? I love the way that sounds. So instead of saying I'm ugly, I say, you know what, I'm calm or I'm a peaceable person. And as you start practicing those opposite beliefs from those limiting beliefs that you're thinking, you can start finding new, more positive ways of thinking, which will strengthen that pathway. And sometimes a certain word will resonate with you better, as you try to write down the opposites. Like if you say, I hate my body, well, you don't want to change it to I love my body because you won't believe that. But what if you just change it to I have a body? Or what if you change it to I love my fingernails or I love my eyelashes or, something that you can pick out that you love about your body, right? To help you go through the process of finding to not be so negative. So we always say the words always and never. We say that all the time. Always this, never that. Really? Really? Always? Really? Never? Kind of question that once in a while. We mislabel the things as good and bad. Something could be good and we say it's bad. Something could be bad and we say it's good. We ruminate. We focus on the negative, miss the positive totally because we're so focused on negative, and we compare our weaknesses to other strengths. That's a big problem we have. But know that there's always an opposite. Just like when a janitor is asked what he does for a living, and he could say, I clean up messes all day. Or he could say, I make a safe environment for everyone. It's all about the mindset, right? Are you going to say that you have to do things or that you get to do things? Because when we focus, what we focus on grows. I've said that before. So if we focus on the worst, that's what we're going to be finding. And I used to be like that when I was younger. I would get up, and if I stubbed my toe as I'm getting up, oh, the whole day's shot now. And I would automatically start looking for everything going wrong. I knew that was going to happen. I knew I was going to get flat tire today. I knew the kids were going to be a problem. I knew this was going to fall through, whatever it was, right? Because I'm looking for it. So we also do these worst case scenarios where we think, just like my brother at Disneyland, how terrible it's going to be. Okay, so what if that is the worst thing that happens, right? Then work on making it better than that. Just like my client, worst case scenario, you're going to be homeless. You're actually not. So think about the worst case scenario. First of all, is it true? And secondly, what can you do about it? Maybe you just need to accept it and know that you can make it better than that. And then the last thing is kind of where's the proof? Where's the proof of your thought? And I love to imagine that my thought is going to court. and I have this lawyer, and he's bringing in all this evidence that my thought is true because it has to be 100% accurate, right? And so he's going to pull out, what evidence is he going to pull out to prove that my negative thought is even true? Sometimes there's not a lot of proof. And just because somebody said it, again, is not proof. That's hearsay, actually. And that wouldn't hold up in court either. So remember, you don't have to believe things the same way that others believe them, and that experiences are happening for you and not to you. As soon as you can change that mindset, you're going to be a lot happier in your life. Then know that life is a gift, and you get a gift, right? And how do you feel when you get a gift? You're like, oh, this is awesome. I want to open it up. I want to dive in. This is for me. Okay. Sometimes we want to regift it, right? We're like, we don't like this. I don't need this, right? And that happens in life sometimes too. But we got to dive in and realize that this is for us. This is happening for us. And you can tell yourself, of all the thoughts available to me, what would be the best thing I could think right now? There's lots of thoughts. A lot of our, a lot of our stinking thinking. Sorry, just a second. A lot of our stinking thinking comes from thinking about things we should do. Oh, I should eat my vegetables. I should exercise more. I should have more money. I should be smaller weight. I should be happy. So we should all over ourselves. We do. So we need to stop and ask ourselves, is there something else I could be thinking in this moment? Something a little bit more positive. Because focusing on the past doesn't create a better life for you. You can choose thoughts of hope and peace right now, no matter what you're going through. And you have permission to not worry about the past anymore. I'll share one more story with you. There was a time, and I was doing some podcast interviews, and I reached out to a famous actor to ask if I could interview him, and he said yes. And I was so excited because I knew he would just be amazing to talk to and have a great story he could share. I would talk to people about their lemons to lemonade experiences, people who have taken a lemon and made lemonade. So basically, they had a challenge or a problem or trial in their life and what they did to make it better, how they're changing the world because of something hard they went through. So I set up this appointment. I was so excited. We were going to do this online interview. I was all ready and waiting. And about 5 minutes passed and 10 minutes passed, and he still didn't come to the online interview. 15 minutes passed, and then 20 minutes passed. And I was like, I knew it. I knew it. He doesn't want to be interviewed. He's too good, for me. He's realized, that I'm just this little podcast. I'm no significance, no importance. He doesn't want to waste his time with me. And in fact, I should probably just quit podcasting altogether because what's the point? Who cares? Nobody noticed. And I did a whole poor me for quite a while. I was really sad. I cried a lot, actually. And a little while later, I checked my email. It was about a half hour later. I checked my email and I'd gotten an email from this actor. And all he said was, "Hi, Heidi, I'm so sorry. I'm in a conference call right now that has taken way longer than I thought. So I'm sorry I'm going to miss our appointment. Can we reschedule for this afternoon?" I was like, wait, what? He doesn't think I'm lame. He doesn't think this is dumb. He doesn't think it's worthless. Like, he was just busy and couldn't get away. It was a big eye opener to me at that moment, how negative I got and how I made it all about me when really it wasn't. And we ended up having the most beautiful interview, and we laughed and cried together, and it was so powerful. And it was powerful because it was a reminder to me of to not let myself go down that well-worn path of negative thinking. So I would challenge you to take a moment and put your hand on your heart. Take that deep breath. And just savor the moment you're in right now. What a miracle it is that you're doing what you're doing, that you are where you are, that you're alive, that you are comfortable, that most likely you have a comfortable place you're in and you're listening, you have the internet available to you, and you are in a place where you are willing to change your mindset a little bit and learn more and experience. Like, savor that for a moment. What a miracle. We're so blessed and we're so lucky. No one can take away your ability to think what you want. And I can tell you, after living the past 34, 35 years now without my dad, that I really did need him in my life, and we weren't better off without him. That was his stinking thinking, and he missed it all. He missed me growing up and graduating high school and getting married and having 3 kids, and now I have 6 grandkids, and he's missed it all. He'd be a great grandpa right now, all because of his thinking. So stop. Stop your negative thinking. You can do it. It's possible. You can stop it right where it starts. You can change it to something else. You need to hold on. We all need each other. And sometimes a day might seem really long to hold on for a whole day. So hold on for an hour. Even if you can just hold on for the next 5 minutes and then 5 minutes more. Reach out if you need help, but know that happiness is already in you. It's already there. You just need to tap into it, and you can find it, and you can elevate it, and you can savor it, and you can savor your life and all the wonderful, beautiful things you have in your life. So hold on. The world needs you. You got this. Thank you.
Did you take notes? Heidi had some wonderful tips and really simple steps to change the way your brain is working so that you can have a more vibrant life. Heidi's gift is a handout, and it helps you to go through these steps, and also a discount for her Habits of Happiness course as well. And to receive that gift, just click the link below this video, schedule a quick phone call with me, and you not only get Heidi's gifts, but all the gifts from every incredible speaker in the summit. I look forward to talking to you soon. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you back here. Bye for now.